country and took over leadership of many companies within this country or opened their own, you might say, branches within this country. The Japanese quickly learned that if they did not have leadership from within the country, they were in deep difficulty, and they quickly recognized that. And today, some of the presidents of the Japanese automobile or automotive companies are all Americans or people that came from this country.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. And now let's go to Veracruz, Jalapa, and the university. Go ahead. Veracruz? Hello? Thank you. Good morning. My question is, what should the main concern of the leader and manager be to achieve an exceptional organization? Thank you.
One word comes to mind as to what the main concern should be, and that is unity. There has to be a unification, following proper communication, following the establishment of a strategic plan. There has to be unity. As in sports, a team that is about to do a certain play, as in basketball, for example, must all perform according to that plan. And they must embrace the plan and adopt the plan and be unified behind it.
Now let's go to our second module, where Mr. Tom Hinton will explain what are the essential elements for managing change and accountability.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back with all of you once again. The theme for this series is Principles for World-Class Performance. And certainly one of the core competencies for achieving a world-class performance is strong, vibrant leadership. Today our focus will be on two very important dimensions of the leadership challenge: change and accountability. When I speak of change, consider the following statements. In the 1960s, almost 1/2 of all workers in North America were involved in making products. By the year 2000, 2/3 of the United States workforce alone will be employed in the service sector. Consider this statement by Dr. Peter Drucker. Within 5 years, the most important product of the United States will be knowledge. As Dr. Drucker observed, this not only calls for different organizations, but also a different kind of worker. Our job as leaders is to find ways to identify and market knowledge. In order for knowledge to become a product, we must first have data. Secondly, we must be able to convert that data into information. Next, we must be able to convert information into knowledge. And ultimately, our goal must be to convert knowledge into wisdom. The wisdom to make excellent decisions. The wisdom to surround ourselves with capable people who will advance our organizations and not retard their growth. The wisdom to make products and services that enhance our planet, not pollute it or destroy its natural resources. This ultimate pursuit of knowledge and wisdom is why leaders must not only embrace change, but champion it within their organizations. Perhaps this is why the most progressive companies and organizations in the world have created a new position entitled Chief Learning Officer, or CLO. The person who occupies this senior management position is responsible for the continuous growth and professional advancement of the employees and ensuring that the organization continuously improves its performance, products, and services. Let me assure you that this kind of change will not come easy. There will be resistance within your ranks. A significant portion of your workforce will resist all efforts to change the status quo. In fact, studies show that people will devote more energy to resisting change than it takes to simply embrace the change and suffer through the discomfort of the adjustment. Perhaps this explains why there were nearly 400 empty seats on the lifeboats that drifted away from the Titanic before it sank in the frigid waters of the North Atlantic in 1911. Apparently, at the same time that great ship was sinking, there were still hundreds of disbelieving people who refused to board a lifeboat and save themselves. They just couldn't accept the fact that an iceberg could sink the unsinkable Titanic on its maiden voyage from England to New York City. Let me explain the importance of change another way. If you look at the first roster of the Fortune 500, which was published by Fortune magazine in 1956, some 40 years ago, only 29 of the 100 largest firms from that first list still appear in the top 100 rankings today. During the 1980s, a total of 230 companies, that's some 46%, disappeared from the 500 list altogether. What this tells me is that size does not guarantee continued success, nor does your product or service. The message is clear. As leaders, we must not only embrace change, but we must become change artists. Let's begin by defining an important question. What is the Global Leadership Challenge? I'd like to define it in three ways. First, I believe the greatest global leadership challenge we face is our ability to acquire and maintain customers in the face of growing competition. The competition I'm speaking of is not only coming from across town, but across our nations and surely from other continents. The second global leadership challenge that must be addressed is our ability to anticipate problems and find meaningful solutions. This relates to my earlier premise that we must have sufficient data and information in order to make intelligent, knowledgeable decisions. A society that lacks access to data and information or attempts to deprive its people of data and information will wither and die. I believe one of the greatest hopes for the emancipation of all people on earth is to access information. If you doubt how information and knowledge will change the political landscape of our planet, consider these facts. We live in an era of mass communications with satellites hovering hundreds of miles above us. We have developed portable computers that possess more information in one single memory chip than all of the knowledge through the 13th century. No problem is too great for mankind not to find a solution. Thirdly, we must be able to create a profit for our business and implement a continuous improvement process. Ultimately, leaders are judged on their performance. This is the way it should be. As in baseball, you must score runs in order to win the game. And so, our challenge today is how do you take this intangible concept we call leadership and harness its potential so that you can create a world-class performance for your business? Let's begin by defining the term leadership. I define leadership as the ability to help individuals and their organizations surpass themselves. Now, this definition suggests that those companies that are worthy of a world-class performance operate by a contemporary rule. And that rule states, change or perish. In other words, leaders constantly must search for new, innovative ways to continuously improve their performance and, in so doing, keep their business competitive and profitable. In order for a company to continuously improve its performance and remain competitive, its leadership also must advocate accountability. Now, what I mean by accountability is that a leader is ultimately responsible for his or her decisions and actions. Every decision requires that a choice be made, and for every choice, there is a consequence. Accountability is how a leader tracks and measures the outcome of his or her decisions. From a qualitative standpoint, here are a few ideas to help you measure accountability. These ideas relate directly to your performance and bottom-line financial results. My reference point for many of these ideas is taken from the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award, which is sponsored by the United States Department of Commerce. First, how does your company's products or service quality improvement effort correlate with key customer indicators such as customer satisfaction, customer retention, and market share? Second, what are the cost to revenue implications of customer-related problems? In other words, are you spending more money on fixing customer problems than the customer is worth? Third, how do you interpret market share changes in terms of customer gains and losses and changes in your overall customer satisfaction? Fourth, what are the trends in your efforts to improve key operational performance indicators such as productivity, cycle time, waste reduction, new product introductions, and defect levels for your products? Fifth, what are the financial benefits to your company for improved employee safety, absenteeism, and turnover? And lastly, what are the benefits and costs associated with education and training? These are types of accountability issues that I would encourage you to measure. Enlightened leaders are not concerned with blame and finger-pointing. Instead, they want to encourage people to identify the causes of problems, offer solutions, and fix the problem. Leaders understand that people are human, and part of being human is we make mistakes. This is why world-class organizations strive to fix the problem, not to determine where to attribute the blame. And so, what strategy can you use to help your company or organization create a world-class performance? The answer is the 5 Ps. The 5 Ps represent purpose, principles, people, processes, and performance. By concentrating on the 5 Ps, you will address the primary issues that create a world-class organization. Let's examine each one. The first and most important of the 5 Ps is purpose. I rank purpose number 1 because a leader and the organization must know 3 things in order to achieve world-class performance. Those 3 things are, number 1, who are we? Number 2, where are we going? And number 3, how will we get there? Another way to define purpose is to articulate your mission, vision, and goals. I know many company executives who have spent thousands of dollars to create a mission statement only to find it is useless. This is not to imply that the ideas and philosophies embodied in the mission statement are useless. Rather, I'm suggesting that a mission statement must become part of the way you do business. Everyone in your organization must subscribe to the mission statement and be able to apply it in their daily work routines. If they cannot, it will never be more than words on a sheet of paper. Your challenge as leaders is to make your mission statement come alive. The second P represents principles. Once you have clarity of purpose and a well-defined mission statement for your business, you must establish principles. I'm referring to your beliefs, your values, attitudes, and behaviors. This is where your leadership becomes visible to employees, customers, and suppliers. A company cannot achieve world-class performance if its leadership lacks principles or subscribes to the wrong set of principles. The first step to establishing principles is to determine your beliefs. For example, does your company believe in its customers? If so, how do you support that belief? Do you believe in your employees? If so, does your compensation plan support that belief? Do you honor and respect your people? These are not simply esoteric questions, but rather these are questions that probe at the heart and soul of your business. You cannot have it both ways. If you examine the characteristics of world-class performers, you'll observe that one of their hallmarks for success are their beliefs. Furthermore, their beliefs are translated into policies and procedures that everyone subscribes to. Here's a brief example. Southwest Airlines, a small but growing regional airline in the United States, has established the following beliefs. They are friendly service, low fares, on-time arrivals, safety, employee satisfaction, and fun. Mr. Herb Kelleher, the chairman of Southwest Airlines, embodies these beliefs. In fact, he tells the story about a customer who would always write a nasty complaint letter after every flight. The letters became well known among the customer relations department employees at Southwest Airlines, and they tried their best to satisfy and address the complaints. But finally, they concluded there was nothing more they could do to satisfy this one customer. So, they gave the pile of letters to Herb Kelleher. And after reading all the letters, Mr. Kelleher picked up a pen and wrote the following message on his official letterhead. Dear Mr. Jones, obviously you expect much, much more from Southwest Airlines than we can ever provide you. We will miss you as a customer. Sincerely, Herb Kelleher, Chairman. By having a set of beliefs that you believe in and apply throughout your company, it makes it easy to write this type of letter because there are some customers you just don't want to do business with. And I believe it's okay to selectively choose which customers you want to do business with and which ones you don't. What are the values your leadership projects? Let me emphasize here that I am not talking about the posters and slogans that hang on your office walls. I'm talking about walking the talk. If leaders say one thing and do another, that sends a very clear message, a negative and destructive message to every employee in your organization. You will not gain their loyalty, nor will you gain their respect. They will report to work and they'll do their job, but it will only be for the paycheck. The valueless leader may control the workers' hands, but he will never control their hearts and their minds. Positive values ensure a healthy attitude and a spirit of service in the workplace. World-class leaders spend a great deal of time cultivating a positive attitude among their employees. Whenever I read about airline pilots threatening a strike or teachers picketing for more money, I worry. Will these pilots be less cognizant of safety because they are angry at management? Will our teachers be less committed to teaching our children how to read and write because they are underpaid or the class size is too large for a quality teaching experience? Attitude is very important to your quality and service levels. Behavior is the third and final leg of the principles triangle. A world-class performer is sustained by lofty values, positive attitudes among its employees, and a healthy behavior that reinforces respect for the worker, the customer, and the company's products or services. Once you have a clearly defined purpose in place and you have established your principles, now you can focus on the third P in our formula, people. At the Customer Relations Institute, we believe that the people factor can be divided into four important aspects. They are recruitment, training, mentoring, and rewarding employees. Recruitment is the most important part of the people formula because the kind of people you hire will determine the type of culture you create in your organization. So where do you find outstanding employees? Some companies believe the best candidates are college-educated students. Other companies want people who are polite and friendly. But if you examine the world-class performers, you'll find they all adhere to one common practice. They hire the smile and then train the skill. If you examine the best employees in any customer contact job, they are friendly, knowledgeable, and willing to help their customers. Once you have great people, you can tap them for new candidates. You want to clone your best and brightest employees by encouraging them to recommend other employees just like them. This has been one of Disney's secrets for success. Training is essential in order to become a world-class performer. The best companies in the world reinvest in their people. And as a rule of thumb, the most progressive companies invest an amount equal to 4 or 5% of their entire payroll for employee education and training. Motorola and other successful companies have established their own corporate universities. But let me also add a word of caution here. I think it's more important to design an education and training program that complements the mission and goals of your organization than it is to simply throw money at your training department and tell them, here is the money, go spend it on whatever you think is important. It is that type of antiquated thinking that has caused too many companies to underperform and ultimately to be dropped from the Fortune 500 rankings. Let me offer you a few ideas on how to move beyond the traditional training forums so that you can invigorate the learning process in your company. First, I think you must take advantage of the new technology now available in the form of teleconferencing, such as this program. You can train more people at less cost through this type of forum. Secondly, I would encourage you to host education days in your organizations. Offer your employees a blend of motivation and technical training that is aligned to your company's mission, vision, and values. Thirdly, I'm a great supporter of off-site team-building programs that include both physical exercise with some mental stimulation. There are a number of outdoor or off-site programs you can offer your employees that challenge them to raise their expectations without suffering physical pain or risking injury. Another aspect of the people factor is mentoring. While the concept of mentoring has existed for centuries with journeymen and apprentices, it is fairly new to the corporate world. I view mentoring as a formal training and education process whereby employees from all levels of the company are paired together in order to learn from each other, grow in their respect and understanding of each other's job, and ultimately develop closer professional relationships with co-workers. The final aspect of the people factor is rewards and recognition. Now, I firmly believe that in order for leadership to improve the performance of their people, they must institute a formal rewards and recognition program. The tremendous growth of new products and services in the past 10 years has put a severe strain on the number of capable workers. This phenomena is not limited to the United States, Germany, and Japan. It is true in every progressive country. The challenge we face is twofold. First, we must be able to hire talented people. But secondly, we must be able to retain them. The best way to retain talented employees is to create a rewards and recognition program that blends together financial incentives, team rewards, and personal praise for a job well done. Let me add a few personal thoughts about rewards and recognition programs. I typically find two schools of thought. The first school believes strongly in rewarding people in order to encourage them to go above and beyond the call of duty for their customers. I subscribe to this school because survey after survey confirms that people want to be appreciated for their efforts. In fact, recognition for a job well done is more important, according to the same studies, than a pay increase. Why not entice your employees to give that extra 10% by rewarding them and recognizing their efforts? The second school of thought believes that people are paid to do a job and that they should stop complaining and just do the work or quit and find another job. Well, there's no question that people are paid to do their jobs, and yes, they should do them. But frankly, those who subscribe to this school of thought are forgetting one very important factor, which is that people are human. And every person in your organization needs some kind of carrot in order to give that extra effort. So, if you are suffering from mediocre results or a lackluster performance among your employees, I strongly suggest you launch a rewards and recognition program. I think you'll be amazed at the difference people can make when there's an incentive to pursue. And let me just give you a couple of examples of what I'm talking about by rewards and recognition, because it doesn't have to cost money. For example, a thank you note that you can write to an employee who does a good job. Catch your people doing something right and let them know how much you appreciate their work. When you have employees who do an outstanding job, recognize them with a plaque. Here's a plaque that I received for giving a speech from the American Society for Quality Control. I think of this organization very favorably, and I think of them often. And the last idea that I would suggest to you, and something that all employees love, is a cap or a shirt or something that they can wear that has your logo on it and that promotes your organization. So these are a few of the kinds of rewards and recognitions that I'm referring to, and they don't cost much money. The fourth P is process. In other words, how do you do your work? To what standard do your people perform? There are 4 dimensions to processes. They are your standards, measurements, methods for innovation, and improvement cycles. Let's briefly examine each one of these 4 elements. Standards are defined as your acceptable level of performance. Acceptable, that is, to your customers. For example, your standard for answering the telephone may be on or before the 3rd ring. Your standard for responding to a customer's call to install a new telephone system may be within 24 hours or within 5 working days. Every company and every department within that company has formal and informal standards for performance that relate to its service and responsiveness. Measurements, the second dimension of processes, pertains to how you get information on your performance. For example, there are various assessments or measures your company can use to determine how well you perform your services or how well your products meet the needs